has to be. It has to be. It has to be a movement only.
Sir, sorry to disturb you. I think it is our clock has clocked 9:50. So if you permit me, I will start today's session.
Please.
Okay. Yeah. Good morning.
Sir, we start the session with a small video. If the students can play that, with that we can start.
Okay. Please go.
Yes, sir. So just wait for 1 minute. So, good morning, everyone. We have Professor Trilok Singh with us from Partha Ghosh Academy of Leadership, IIT Kharagpur, and he will be moderating the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Good morning and good evening, all of you. Those who are joining from India, good morning, and those who are joining from the United States, good evening. I am Trilok Singh, Vice Chairman, Partha Ghosh Academy of Leadership, IIT Kharagpur. On my personal behalf and on behalf of the organizers of Happiness Meet 2022, I again welcome you to this session. The session has a theme of happy leadership strategies to inspire teams. And today's panelists for this, theme are Professor Partha Ghosh, Mr. Ajeet Saxena, and Professor Ramgopal Rao. So with this one, I will start with Professor Partha Ghosh, who is the founder, Boston Place, and founder of PG Academy of Leadership, IIT Kharagpur, and also he is the professor of Tufts University. He holds BTech degree from IIT Kharagpur, and Partha Ghosh is a renowned strategist and innovator of business and economics models. And with this one, Partha Ghosh has worked with various companies. Among his previous position, he was the chairman and chief mentor of Boston Analytics, a firm specializing in providing precision analytical services such as financial modeling tools. He was also the chairman of board of advisors of M&A strategic alliance advisory firms, Access International Partners, and chairman of business intelligence firm Intersoft KK based in Tokyo. He was involved as a faculty resources with MIT and Harvard University on strategic management and policy design, leadership, and Tufts University on globalization and innovation. He is currently in an advisory role with multiple organizations worldwide. He has a vast experience of working with the various governments throughout the globe. So we are very happy, sir, today to have you in our board. So with this short introduction, I would welcome you to take the floor, and we all are here to listen to your thoughts and your experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Trilok. Thanks to everyone who has joined the meeting this morning in India, evening in the US. I think it's a very special privilege for me to be able to share some of my thoughts on on one side, I would say, a very simple subject, happiness, a very complex subject of happiness, And I will try to connect the two extremes, the simplicity as well as the complexity of happiness. Now, the world is very angry. We know that, particularly what's going on in the United States, as you hear about the mass shooting almost every day, which is supposed to be, has been a model of the world for last almost 100 years, is obviously ceasing to play that role. Similarly, there's a lot of anger in Europe. There's a lot of anger in different parts of China. There's a lot of anger in different parts of South Asia, if you look at the old subcontinent. So obviously, a search of happiness is a very important component in our day-to-day life, both at an individual level, at an organizational level, at a national level. So I think it's a very good subject that we are talking about today, which is how to think of happiness strategy in the context of leadership. I would like to make 2 points. One, happiness in the context of the individual, and then happiness in the context of the space where the individual belongs. Now, first, let me talk about the individual. I do believe happiness is a conscious choice each one of us make. It is not up to anyone else to make me happy. It is, I have to find a way to find happiness and make the choice that what is that I need to find in myself through which I could seek happiness. So that's the first very important point. And as you know, in the last 200 years, particularly after Adam Smith economics, which is called basically based on power of self-interest, I think people have in the process become selfish. And in the process, the happiness is dependent on materialism. And as you know, there's no end to materialism. So when we get something A, we want B. When we get B, we want C. And happiness moves away from you. But if we can make a switch from what I would call self-interest to self-consciousness, self-expression, it is not about my interest, it's my desire to express my value to society. Naturally, happiness becomes more evident. So I think one challenge is how to make that transition where we think of ourselves from the point of what we want to take from society as opposed to what we want to give to society. And that is, by the way, essence of Vedantic philosophy. But unfortunately, we have lost touch with that philosophy, made the philosophy very complex. But if we really bring it down to its simplicity, we're only talking about self-expression. God has given each one of us some gifts. How do I express that to serve society? In the process, create value. In the process, find my space in society, in a nation, in the world. The second point I would like to make, again, I'm talking in the context of the individual. It is about inner consciousness. It is not external. Happiness is internal. So once we have made a choice of what is the value that we want to offer to society, the next question is, how do I connect with my inner self? And there also, inner self, which is deep inside, as opposed to seeking the connection with outside. Well, outside is continuously changing. Outside rules are changing. It's very difficult to find a stable source of happiness. The stable source of happiness is within us, and it's important to search that. And the third point, happiness is not a static, that you cannot say, I have arrived at a happy state. It is a dynamic process. It's a continuous search of how you could understand your inner universe and in the process deepen yourself in making the connectivity between your inner universe and the people that you want to serve. So I really wanted to make that point, that it is at the individual level, we have to think of happiness. Now, before I want to switch to the more organizational context, because we are talking about happiness in the context of organization, I want to make one point on the individual level. The power to choose, is the first part, is a choice you make, is within us. And we have to learn what we want to connect with and what we want to let go. Often what happens, people have a habit of not letting go anything. I want to be in touch with everything with the hope that something I'll find where happiness would belong. But it is not that simple. We have to make a choice, particularly choice that what we want to let go. You know, I remember one statement made by a famous film actress. When I was young, she was absolutely at the top of Hollywood. Her name was Goldie Hawn. And she said, the only thing that will make you happy is being happy with who you are. It's a very powerful statement. Being happy with who you are. And you can be happy with who you are when you know deep inside what is that gift that you want to share with the world outside. So now I would switch the next 5 minutes in the organizational context, given the topic is happy leadership strategies to inspire teams. So now I'm moving from the individual to the space we belong. Now, any one of us, whether we are a team leader, whether we are a professor, whether we are a dean of a university, whether we're head of a department or director of a university, we manage a space. A lot of people come into that space, and the role of that leader is to enable a space where everyone can find their own happiness. Now, unfortunately, the way the organizational models have evolved over the last 200 years, again driven by the West, is the command and control structure. Is a militaristic model. Maybe during the earlier days of industrialization, it was required to bring discipline in the manufacturing process, to bring discipline in economics. So companies followed the hierarchical model, the command and control model. But the world has changed. Today, we are moving into knowledge society. The command and control basically takes away the independence of thinking from people. And in the process, what happens? People become slaves to someone else's thinking. And when you are a slave, and when I am slave to someone else's thinking, it is natural to become unhappy. So the role of a leader today is to create a space, and I'm talking to many of you are professors, many of you are in the academic world, many of you may be in the corporate world. I feel as a professor, whether you are the head of a department or even the director of IIT, your role is to create a space where everyone can find a process of self-realization. Mark my word, a process of self-realization. So that is, to me, the leadership strategy. Now, you may ask, what does that really mean, process of self-realization? Gita would say it is basically understanding who you are, and in the process, play your role, play the process right, do not expect the results. But how do you create that space? And that's what we are trying to do, and Trilok is very much involved in the Leadership Academy. We are talking about 3 vectors. Those 3 vectors would be, first, every organizational leader, whether he's running a team of 5 people, 50 people, 500 people, 5,000, 50,000. Irrespective of number of people that is involved, his role to create an opportunity for everyone to find the path of self-discovery. And there has to be a process in place that every individual could discover themselves. Very important. Once you discover yourself, the organization should enable a process, what I would call self-expression, that, as I mentioned, in the individual case, you seek happiness through self-expression, but to help that individual to express themselves, it is the role of the leader to discover who you are, take the gift within, and express that gift for society. And then the third vector is self-confidence, that you, with full elegance, want to serve the people around you, whatever you believe in. And in the process, you further unlock self-discovery. So self-discovery, self-expression, self-confidence is a continuous cycle. As I mentioned, it's a continuous process. And when we create the right rhythm of these three selves, self-discovery, self-expression, self-confidence, we create what I would call the process of self-realization. Because ultimately, each one of our goals in life is to realize who we are for the benefit of society. But what has happened, and that's why perhaps our country is struggling a bit too much, somewhere over the last 1,000 years, we took a wrong direction. People have become too much driven by self-interest as opposed to selflessness. So happiness comes, which is the last point I would like to make, when individuals can switch from self-interest to selflessness, that by serving others, I find myself, not by taking from others, I find myself. That is self-interest. And that's why in my recent book, and many people are talking about it, I basically challenge the concept of Adam Smith, the power of self-interest. And I'm saying we have to promote the power of self-expression, which is how do you express yourself to serve society. So I would like to end by sharing with you 5 rules of happiness, which is my very personal experience, whether you are looking from an organizational point of view or whether you are looking from individual point of view, which I call, by the way, dharma of life. Dharma. What is dharma? And the 5 rules are, first, we should engage with your inner spiritual base. An education system, every education system in the country, I would say almost from middle school to high school to university, should have an element to help our young minds engage with their inner spiritual base. Spiritual base should not be treated separately. Spiritual base should be the backbone of the education system, as used to be during the days of Nalanda and Taxila. Second, we should help students, professors, faculty, corporate executives, CEOs to find joy in exploring the unknown, not exploiting and owning the known. We want to own, we want to exploit, but I think the joy should be in exploring the unknown. You know, Tagore, I will recite in Bengali first, but then I'll translate in English. In one place, Janar majhe ajanare korechi sandhan. Beautiful. Within the known, I have continuously looked for the unknown. Because in the known, we tend to own what we know because we feel it's our. But as soon as you dive into the space unknown, you try to explore with highest amount of humility what you could learn. The third rule, which I would like to share with you, play your own course, not compare. It's a very important point for happiness. We often compare ourselves. He is doing better, she is doing better, he has a better car. It's all materialistic comparison anyway, comparison of titles. But I think it's very important to play your own course, like golf. No point comparing with others. You compete with your score last time. You had 10 handicap, could you move to 7 handicap? Fourth, which is extremely important, and I hope Dr. Trilok Singh would ensure that in the Academy of Leadership that we are establishing, allowing ventilation of our intellect and mind. We do not allow ventilation of our intellect and mind, particularly important in knowledge-based society. We believe what we know is right. What we don't know, we do not care about. And in the process, the walls of egos goes up. And as the walls of egos go up, we tend to feel uncomfortable. It is very, very difficult to seek happiness. So I think I will suggest strongly that we find a way to allow ventilation of the mind and the intellect. And finally, seek self-realization by serving, but by not taking. I think we often believe how much through my work I can take, accumulate. I think we become in the process, significantly, we want to become stewards of materialistic objects. I think the process should be just the opposite. Self-realization by serving others. And in the process, you really develop the inner gift, which is the spiritual gift. So these are the 5 rules I feel are important, which I'm calling dharma of life. I've taken more time than I expected, but I thought I will do in 15 minutes. I've taken a bit more than 15 minutes, but I want to thank you very much to really put what I would call, based on my own experience, happiness in perspective, connecting with the fundamental philosophy which our country is very rich in, which is the Vedic philosophy. With that, thank you very much. I want to close with one simple statement, which I have cherished for many, many years. It is, if it is to be, it is up to me. So if I am to be happy, it is really up to me. If I want to create something new, it is up to me. So we never have excuses. We take full responsibility of what the world that we could create. With that, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this very strong message, especially on when we are talking about the happiness at the, to inspire the teams, because teams are the institute builders. So if you really motivate teams, encourage teams, and make them happy, definitely every institution will grow. And especially your message for happiness, these 5 mantras. So yeah, as a vice chairman of academy, I will try my best to live up to your expectation that okay, at least we can follow some of these things to the grassroots and motivate the young minds, our students. Thank you, sir. Okay, thanks. So our next speaker is Mr. Ajeet Saxena, former civil servant, founder, Capsule on Corporate Spiritual Responsibility. Mr. Ajeet Saxena, born in UP, grew up in the foothills of Himalayas, spending his early childhood in and around Dehradun, Haridwar, Rishikesh. He did his Bachelor of Engineering from IIT Roorkee. Now, he went on to do his MBA through the National Management Program of the Government of India after joining the Indian Railway Traffic Services, ITRS, through the Civil Service Examination of 1982. So although trained as a civil engineer, he found himself temperamentally misfit in the work culture of civil engineering departments. Hence, he switched over to civil services. He retired as a Principal Chief Commercial Manager of Southern Railway. Having been exposed to all the major religions of India, right from his early childhood with equal openness of intensity, he has picked up the best and the most relevant from the core of all the religions and assimilated it as what he calls applied spirituality. His capsule on spirituality, termed as applied spirituality for Pentium generation, is for the youngster, worldly men and women, and consists of tips and clues. And in this course of time, his first major spiritual breakthrough came in way back 1980, probably when he was doing his B.Tech. During his posting as a DC Karaikal with the Pondicherry government. As a curious visitor to almost all the major sacred places of various religions of India, it was in Pondicherry that he came in touch with Sri Aurobindo Ashram, and Sri Aurobindo's philosophy got glimpses of what now he terms as technology of spirituality. According to him, Sri Aurobindo was the first and only rishi who has dealt with the dimensions of spirituality as a software operating behind the creation and Vedas. So with this one, I welcome Mr. Ajeet Saxena. Thank you, sir, for agreeing to be today's panelist. We are really looking forward to hear you. Now, floor is yours.
Actually, Dr. Partha Ghosh has already summed it up. The entire thing, almost the source code, what is missing. I am actually in the deep hills of Himalaya, so maybe connectivity could be a problem. And since, almost everything Dr. Partha has said, so I will quickly run through a presentation which will cover all the things. See, Dr. Partha Ghosh said that for 1,000 years, India has taken a wrong direction. Actually, that is where the mistake happened. Today in this country, today means, after IIT days and when I joined the civil service, I have seen the arrogance, the ignorance compounded with arrogance. So then I realized that in this country, anybody who talks of God and goodness is considered a dehati, a villager, a fellow who could not do anything in life, and that is why he is talking of such abstract things. Then there was also a reason that spirituality was actually confused with the religion, and it was so promiscuously used. It is the best business in the country today. So people got confused, right? So I thought, why not come out and tell the youngsters that, no, don't be apologetic about yourself. Go back to your roots. And that is how I started, delving deep. And as I said, Sri Aurobindo was the only rishi who talked of his spirituality. And that is where I picked up the clue. And I found that the Vedas are the software manuals. So I'll quickly run through the presentation, which will probably touch up everything. And then in the last minute, I'm very bad with the timing. So Dr. Trilok, you will have to point out that the time is running out. All right. So let me try with this small presentation. See, this is how I downloaded this. My surrender is to my master, who is known as Mahavatar Babaji. And from him, this glimpse came, and I developed this. And the first center for this was set up at S. Vyasa, Bangalore. You know that Swami Vivekananda Yoga Anusandhan Sansthan. So it was called Center for Corporate Spiritual Responsibility. So in this presentation, I'll share what all I have downloaded from, I say downloads from Divinity. And then we will try to answer everything. So I begin the thing. I think it is.
Yeah, it is visible. Yeah.
We can see this.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
visible.
Very much.
So I call it navigation in human mode, a user's manual. What has happened is, when the astronauts go into space, if they lose touch with the ground station, there is a possibility of that they are going buzzard. And that is what has happened in the case of human beings. We have come here for a purpose. There is a continuous direction which is being given to us, but we have lost the connectivity. That is why I call it navigation in human mode, a user's manual. And Vedas are the best user's manual, but we have not paid any attention to that. Now, what is the cause of this ignorance? It is ignorance. Normally we say it's a Shad dosha, but I see the ignorance of 4 P's. What are the 4 P's? The purpose of life, the principle of life, the process of life, and the protocol of life. We have not come here haphazardly. We have come here with these 4 P's of life. Therefore, what I tell the youngsters, that the first question that we have to ask, what am I? Who am I is a very senior. It is like doing PhD, but the BTech course is what am I? We should know it. We are not a body. So what am I should be the first inquiry. And when you qualify in that and when you cross the threshold, then you should think of who am I. The purpose is not to create Ramana Maharshis. Each one is not destined or capable to reach that level. So we start with what am I. So with this, I downloaded this, the corporate spiritual responsibility, and the hypothesis, the first hypothesis I thought was that Vyavastha of any organization depends on the Avastha of its managers. Vyavastha of any organization depends on the Avastha of its managers, that the quality of your being will decide the quality of your doing, hence of your living. Number 3, that the culmination of the sankalp, that is intent in external world, will depend on the extent of illumination in your internal world. Here, Vyavastha, you know, is the state of affairs. Avastha is what I call operating system. From which operating system are you operating? Depending on that, all your actions will be decided. As is the Avastha, so are the thoughts, words, deeds of a leader, hence his needs. Secondly, the quality of your being. If I am basically a third-rate person, if you make me the chief priest of Badrika Ashram, I will mess up even there. That is the quality of your being. Now, whether your intent will be able to do larger good to the humanity, to the creation, to the network of oneness, will depend on the extent of illumination that you have in an internal world. If I am filled with darkness inside, I will only spread darkness. Dr. Partha mentioned about happiness. No, it is like fragrance. If you are happy inside, you will spread happiness. The peace within me is peace within you, and peace within you is peace within all. That is how this spreads. It's very infectious. And I mentioned the 4 P's of human life. The purpose of human life is tam soma jyotirgamaya. Each soul comes here to get more and more illuminated. The entire game of spirituality is frequency, voltage, and luminosity. The principle of life is oneness of entire existence. And whatever I talk here, I did not get chance, because we were also born in that generation where parents were very insecure that agar bacha is not educated in English medium, doesn't get anglicized, he will not be successful in life. So we missed that. We missed studying Sanskrit. We could not read the Vedas and other. It was just sheer divine grace that I could meet. I was in Hardwar, Rishikesh. I could go to Pondicherry, be with Sri Aurobindo's ashram, and then understand, oh, there is a complete software provided. So as you grow in the operating system from Mooladhar, as you rise above. So all this I have not read because I was not allowed to. We were not, our circumstances were not so. So all this I have personally experienced, and then I'm talking from experience. So there is no need to actually, that first of all, one has to read all the scriptures and then only, because life is too short. The best is to get connected, and then all can be downloaded like you have that these days. The facility is already available, and divinity keeps dropping the clues. It's a game of dumb charades. We have to understand what divinity is saying. So as you move up, the moment you read this Anahat Chakra, the heart chakra, you get connected and you feel, my God, I am part of the entire ocean of humanity. And once you get that experience, then you realize, see, for example, when you're by mistake, if your finger pokes into your eye, hurts very badly, why don't you chop it off? Because of the awareness, you know that the finger is part of one body. It's a part of organic whole. So once you reach this heart chakra, you feel that, oh, I cannot hurt anybody because each one that exists and everything that exists is part of my own existence. And that is what Christ meant when he says, kingdom of God is here. He was operating from this heart chakra. Then next is process of life. Process of life is navigation in human mode. Remain in touch with your controlling station. Keep getting updates, and then you will be navigating. Protocol is let spirit lead the matter. Today, as Dr. Partha was saying, the greed, selfishness, all our actions, all our thoughts, all are decided by the dictates of matter. I'll become rich, get more money, I'll get fame, I'll get this, I'll be famous, I'll have power. Now this is like whether your steering wheel is controlling your four wheels, or the four wheels are controlling your steering wheel. So the protocol is let spirit lead the matter. हे प्रभु, हे परम पिता परमात्मा, मेरे मन में ऐसा कोई विचार ही ना आए जो तेरी इच्छा के खिलाफ हो, and तेरी इच्छा वही होगी जो as per the entire creation what is best suited for me and best suited for the humanity. It is a mistake. We think we are doing a favor to others. We are doing a favor to ourselves by being good, by pursuing this path of righteousness or dharma. So the key realizations which went behind downloading this concept of corporate spiritual responsibility. One was oneness of entire existence, which I just explained. Second was that spirituality is the information technology of settled world. It's a deep subject. We will discuss it some other time. And the last was the spiritual system. Because we are so conditioned by matter, because we have not understood what am I, so we think only matter is the ultimate reality. So we have only talked about a conceived ecosystem. What I visualized was there is a huge aquarium-like of thing where spirit is like water, and 84 lakhs yonis or the variants are swimming like colored fishes. And humans we have 4 lakh variants, human variants. If you read Srimad Bhagavat, 400,000 varieties of human variant only. It is like, thin client and this computer and that computer. Every computer is not just a computer. There are varieties. So we have a spiritual system, and ecosystem only a small subset of that larger spiritual system. Now, whatever we are taught in management, just see what is the jargon today? Rat race. People would like to make you believe that you are a rat only, and it is very important to win the rat race. They do not tell you that even if you become number one, you become only rat number one. Then carrot and stick policy. What does it imply? Big fish eats small fish. Cutthroat competition. Dog eats dog word. There are no free lunches. And we come from a civilization where feeding poor people is a basic thing. In our households, there used to be food kept for the crow. Grass is on the other side. This is for those who eat grass. Now, we see these are all animal specific. This is the current worldview. So, from jargon, we have to go to Jagran now. We have to go to awakening. We have to create that awakening that we are not animals. So what has happened? There was a zero error. People thought that the matter was the bedrock of existence. Then when you are the zero, the reference point is wrongly fixed. You know what he said in last 1,000 years. One small mistake has taken to us to a very good share is there कि बस एक कदम उठा था गलत राह शौक में, बस एक कदम उठा था गलत राह शौक में, मंजिल तमाम उम्र मुझे ढूंढती रही. Just one small wrong step has sent us totally astray. And with the modern worldview, it was thought that money plus success leads to happiness. No, money has nothing to do with happiness. Money can only buy you comforts and can make you comfortably miserable. Happiness emanates from a much deeper of existence. So it is like whether you have anchored your ship in the bedrock or it is somewhere in shallow water. So your ship will keep shaking if it is not anchored. So they anchored thinking that money comes from matter. So man, and then they say man is basically an animal, political animal, social animal, economic animal. On the contrary, Vivekananda says man is basically divine, lost in ignorance. So if we can remove the ignorance, we have that divinity shining. Now you understand yourself that if your raw material is basically an animal and my raw material is basically divine, however, whatever tools and techniques of training you may use, an animal can at best be trained as a circus animal. But on the contrary, if I bring the divinity out, my raw material is divine, I have to only polish it. You can see the difference. So result is ignorance of academics versus extracurricular. Our youngsters have to understand that getting a good job, getting wealth, getting big name, power, becoming a very powerful bureaucrat, these are all extracurricular activities, because in the only the soft copy goes back. In IITs, we had people who got gold medals in athletics, in billiards, in Roorkee. We had, all extracurricular activities. If you got gold medal in all the extracurricular activities, if you failed in academics, your steel structures, fluid mechanics, you will not get a degree. So right from beginning, we have to tell our children what are academics, what are extracurricular activities in this life in human form. So, and that academics is spiritual growth. Extracurricular activities, how well you do in. People say he has very well for himself, but what has he done for himself? That is the criteria of judging success. Perishable versus permanent. We have to enlighten our youngsters. What are the perishables? What are permanent? क्या यहाँ रह जाएगा, क्या तुम्हारे साथ जाएगा? And that will happen when we have enlightened worldview. Enlightened worldview will have enlightened definitions, and with those definitions, the 4 P's of business will become. The purpose of business will be loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. I want to create wealth so that I can spread happiness all around, not out of greed. That today the business philosophy is kar lo duniya muthi mein, that you should have everything in your hand so that others should keep begging before you. So purpose of business in an enlightened world will be loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Principle will be let a spirit lead the matter. The process of business will be wealth creation, will be a natural consequence of righteous purusharth. If you live a good life, if you live a meaningful life, purposeful life, wealth is never a problem. It will follow you. If you run after wealth, it will never come. If you live an unrighteous life, you will always, because that poverty is somewhere in the mind. So wealth creation is a natural consequence of righteous purusharth. And protocol will be dharma, arth, kam, moksha. If you follow the searchlight of dharma, in that light, whatever, how much wealth you earn, all that is allowed. And with that wealth, so earned through righteous means, whatever desires in this world you want to fulfill, जो भी धर्मोचित है, न्यायोचित है, उसको आप fulfill करेंगे, वो सब allowed है. कहीं spirituality का मतलब ये नहीं है कि हिमालय में जाके बैठना है. And if you follow a lifestyle like this, it leads you to moksha. And this is irrespective of the service provider. At the time of creation, the Vedic knowledge which was given was like the cell phone technology. That cell phone technology was sufficient for human beings to navigate their life. But then a lot of service providers came. They are known as religions. Now, those service providers, all the service providers are using the same core technology with their own variants, with their own attractive offer to increase their market share. But each one of them is capable of activating that SIM which comes factory fitted from there, we call soul. So, what I'm here in corporate spiritual responsibility, invoking the corporate conscience, not a soulless business, and linking it up to the network of oneness. As Dr. Partha was saying, it is not individual, it is not selfish thing. Whatever you are doing is affecting. Like when I talk of technology of spirituality, between 2 mobile users, even if you delete your calls made from one person to another to hoodwink the parents, the calls still remain in the server. It is not between SIM and SIM. It is between SIM and server also. It is not between 2 individuals, soul to soul. It is soul to soul, soul to creation also, soul to cosmos. So there is a network of oneness and we have to be a part of that. And this is what triggers corporate spiritual responsibility. A lonely thought becomes omnipotent. Somebody has to make a beginning and then it will become acceptable. Conscious corporates and enlightened will come into being. Again, hypothesis, vyavastha of any organization depends on the avastha of its managers. The quality of your being will decide the quality of your doing, hence of your living. That culmination of the sankalp in external world will depend on the extent of illumination in your internal world. Now we see CSR is based on partial reality, corporate social responsibility. Hence, it caters partially only. It is only treating the symptoms, not the root cause. It is like external application, watering the leaves, denting, painting. nourishing the society, all stakeholders spiritually, that have contented and happy society. When will it happen? When you are connected to the oneness and when your deeds are actually nourishing happiness. If your maid servant is sobbing, is miserable in your servant quarter, you can never be happy. And all this I am talking by experience, personal experience. CSR should be a natural consequence, a byproduct of wealth creation. While it is misused for brand promotion and for doing all kinds of things. Therefore, the need and our intent now is to get a corporate spiritual responsibility statute and act replace corporate social responsibility and let India be the first country in the world to have a corporate spiritual responsibility act in place instead of corporate social responsibility. Ethics are conscious attempt at goodness. Like they are like desktop icons. You double click and they say path not defined. They are fragmented commandments. They are external application. The 10 commandments have to be lived in life in conjunction with each other, not that today thou shalt only love the neighbor, but thou shalt not steal. All 10 have to be followed together. CSPR is like installing the drivers. It oozes from within. What he was hinting at, when we were children, we had a cracker called snake tablet. The moment you burnt it, the small tablet, it used to ooze out from within. That is what happens when you are connected here at Anahata Chakra, Heart Chakra. The joy, it is like, you have a spring of joy. It oozes from within. It is not external application. If it was external application, by now United States would have a spray for that. And Chinese would have a bad spray for being happy or being a good man. Ethics are mind-centric, and mind knows only what is there in the society. With the enlightened worldview, mind will have other things to follow. Corporate social spiritual responsibility refers to the operating system, while corporate social responsibility is application software. Changed worldview will have changed ethics. Corporate spiritual responsibility is like skill of driving, while corporate social responsibility is like traffic rules. You see red, you stop. But corporate spiritual responsibility is like driving skill. Now, consciousness leads. It leads to a dharma, arth, kam, moksha protocol. In this, we chaperone people spiritually, right from childhood. What he said in the education. It is not necessary to waste 55 years and then turn to spirituality. Right from childhood, children should know. There is a way. Already we have a circuit diagram given. We have operating instruction in our culture. Spirituality is our spiritual wisdom is our core competence. We should not be apologetic about it. So you chaperone your employees spiritually, right from recruitment to training and after retirement. And that is where we say when we are doing these retreats, we will be taking AMC, annual maintenance contract of your corporates, that they remain aligned, spiritual alignment. So there will be a comprehensive spiritual insurance. And as you have executive spiritual, executive fitness, medical fitness, we will keep testing at executive spiritual fitness, which I call it a spiritual MRI and a spiritual lipid profile. Benchmark will be there that in the past it became, if you don't know English, you will not be successful in this country. So even the maid servants started sending their children to convents. So create a situation where if you are spiritually not evolved, you will not reach the top. Put the efficiency bar to measure that all the degrees may be same, but a person who has spiritually crossed that threshold, only he will be the CEO. Facilitate employees to trustees, continuing education, and boardroom consciousness is what is required. Just now, Dr. Partha Ghosh said about the leaders, whether you are a director, whether you are the top leader, whatever you do is Bhagavad Gita 3.21. Lord Krishna says, जो भी कुछ श्रेष्ठ पुरुष करेगा, whatever the icons, whatever the श्रेष्ठ पुरुष do, others just follow them blindly. So we are missing lighthouses in our society today. We are missing icons, we are missing milestones. So that is why all the more necessary the people who have made it big in life and understood the futility of it all should come out and talk to youngsters, talk to educational institutions, especially the illumined institutions like IITs, and tell them what is permanent and what is perishable. So boardroom consciousness will take care of itself. The whole thing, corporate goals will be fine-tuned with the highest goals of a human life. Nobody would like to make profit at the very purpose of life. And there'll be the maxim that goodness has its compensation, evil has its consequences. Goodness has its compensation, evil has its consequences. Strict no to spiritually challenged. This is one thing which is required, and ruthlessly this is to be improved. A man who is spiritually challenged should never be allowed to rise up in the ladder. He will destroy the organization and he'll destroy the society. And it should not be. Today, spirituality has become very fashionable. It has become a lifestyle accessory. No, it should be the prescribed way of life. You don't have to learn scriptures to defeat us in Shastra. You have to tell them how to live spiritually in this big bad world. In this worldly life as a common person, how to maintain your purity, how to live spiritually, and how to live spirituality. CSR will be a natural consequence of wealth creation. Ethics will no longer be application software, but would be part of the OS. Let spirit lead the matter. Follow the protocol and everything will fall in place. Check spiritual alignment periodically. Conduct rules should be at least yam and niyam. You may not go beyond yam, niyam, asan, pratyahar, pranayam, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Minimum yam and niyam, this is to be prescribed and people told to follow them. This is the basic foundation. If you do not follow yam and niyam, all your spirituality is self-deception. You will not reach anywhere. These basic disciplines are they are like passing the JEE. If you can't pass the JEE, you cannot get into IIT. The transformation, this drivers installed, and then you create leaders. We've talked a lot about transformational leadership, but transformation leadership is only upgrading the operating system. You upgrade the operating system of your CUs, everything will be transformed. Invest in awakening rather than feeding the comatose, perpetuating sleepwalking. Exchange CV for spiritual. I tell the youngsters, when you apply for a job, they have a right to demand your CV, but you also demand a spiritual horoscope of the company. So that the time of retirement, when you retire, you will get a fat check of settlement, monetary settlement. But you also demand your spiritual balance sheet. That I have spent my youth, my young days creating, earning profit for you. You have given me enough perishables. But what have you done to me spiritually? What my soft copy is today? Whether you have taken me from humanity to divinity, or you have made me work in animal mode and reduced me to animal. So CV is required, but the candidate should demand the spiritual horoscope of the company. It is not be just CTC, cost to company, it will be cost to cosmos. कितना पैसा मिलता है ये काउंट नहीं करते हो, किसकी नौकरी करते हो ये भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. हनुमान, मणि नंदन पहले सुग्रीव की नौकरी करते थे. बहुत कूल जॉब था, 10 से 5 का, कोई काम नहीं था. लेकिन कोई नहीं जानता था हनुमान को. जिस दिन से श्री राम की सेवा में आए, he became संकट मोचन and he became अमर, he became forever, eternal. So किसकी नौकरी करते हो ये बहुत काउंट करता है, कितना पैसा मिलता है ये सेकेंडरी है. So again, coming back to hypothesis, व्यवस्था of any organization, depends on the अवस्था of its managers, that the quality of your being will decide the quality of your doing, hence of your living. That culmination of the sankalp in external world will depend on the extent of illumination in the internal world. And one mighty deed can change the course of things. One small beginning will change everything, and we'll be able to eradicate this misery from the humanity. Now, with this, I will close just 1 or 2 points. Dr. Partha talked about leaders. You know, there are creatures and creators. It's very important for youngsters. Creatures are those who are only bothered about their own survival. Somehow they will sacrifice everything if they are allowed to survive. But then there are creators who will only follow the path of righteousness, in the process demolish all evil and unleash positive forces, will do larger good to the society also. They are creators. So be a creator, not just a creature. And the strategies will not be, they should not be an artificial conscious attempt at goodness. They should, once you become a good man, automatically the goodness flows out. You become a source of spreading goodness all over. And the movement is from animal to divine, and it is very much possible. Let me tell you that we have lived a life like all the youngsters. We have lived in places like Bombay, all kinds of things we have seen, but it is very much possible to reach that stage in this very lifetime if you follow a right protocol and live in the awareness. We have to live in constant, impersonal, alert, attentive awareness. With this, I thank you all, and I don't know how much I have crossed, what was the time limit, but thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajeet sir. Thank you for this great and wonderful talk. And this, hello, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yeah. Yeah, you are now. You are, but was I audible? I spoke so much. Did it reach there?
You are audible. You are audible.
Okay. Now I can.
Great. Okay. Thank you again for your nice, really intelligent speech, where you talked about the Vedas are the solution or the software for all the problems. If we know the Vedas, we'll have the solution for everything. Another point, you strongly, believe that every individual have, different software. Like we are using Windows or the iOS software. They are common for everybody, all the devices. These softwares are common. But as you talked about the operating system for individual, it is very different. And if we know our softwares, this will enlighten us, and this will show the right path, and this will keep us happy. Thank you very much, Ajeet sir, for your wonderful.
No, not just that, doctor. All the bugs can be fixed also. There is not a problem.
Yes.
Just look for solution, it will come.
Time to try it. Thank you very much. So yeah, moving on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Professor V. Ramgopal Rao, who is the former director of IIT Delhi and the professor of nanoelectronics at IIT Delhi. Professor V. Ramgopal Rao is currently a professor of nanoelectronics, electrical engineering at IIT Delhi. Before joining IIT Delhi as a director in April 2016, Professor Rao served as a P.K. Kelkar Chair Professor for Nanotechnology in the Department of Electrical Engineering and as a Chief Invigilator for the Center of Excellence in Nanoelectronics at IIT Bombay. Professor Rao has over 480 research publications in the area of nanoscale devices and nanoelectronics, and he is the inventor of over 49 patents, and few patents are already commercialized. Professor Rao is a fellow of IEEE, a fellow of Indian National Academy of Engineering, and a fellow of Indian Academy of Science, the National Academy of Sciences, and the Indian National Science Academy. Professor Rao's research and leadership contribution has been recognized over 30 awards and honors in the country and abroad. He is the recipient of 3 honorary doctorates. The recognitions Professor Rao received include the Santi Sarup Bhatnagar Prize in the Engineering Sciences, Infosys Prize IEEE, EDS Education Award, Excellence in Research Award from IIT Bombay, DAE and DRDO, and Swaraj Jayanti Fellowship Award from the Department of Science and Technology, and IBM Faculty Award. So there are numerous awards under his name. So with this one, I welcome Professor Rao for this wonderful session. Sir, floor is yours now.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Singh. Thanks for inviting me for this event. I will speak entirely based on my own experience. I was the director for 6 years at IIT Delhi, and prior to joining IIT Delhi, I was instrumental in building a large nanoelectronics program in the country involving 7 institutions. IIT Kharagpur also is one of these. And at IIT Bombay, for example, where I spent over 20 years as a faculty member. So we did many things in scaling up these activities and There are over 300 people now using the facility on a daily basis. So I think based on my experience of building large programs in the country and leading an institution in Delhi, which has its own challenges, so I will just speak out of those experiences. I hope some of these will be, useful for the people listening to this talk. I think, to me, when I talk about leadership, I think a vision is important. When I joined IIT Delhi, I came with a purpose. Otherwise, I was very happy as a faculty member. I was doing very well. But I felt very strongly that urge that IITs need to transform. I think we cannot continue to have IITs the way they have been running. I had a vision. So, what was my vision for IIT Delhi? I thought institutions need to become multidisciplinary. We are so narrowly focused on engineering, and I felt that that's not going to take us anywhere, because if you want to solve problems, you just engineering alone, technology alone is not going to be sufficient. You need lots of elements that need to come in, in order to make a difference. So that was one of my things. I also felt that we need to connect better with the local problems, and at the same time we need to be globally engaged. So I think both of these were missing. IITs were a silo on their own, and neither were they connected locally, nor are they networked internationally, except for some collaborative programs here and there and some MOUs. So I wanted to establish that sort of a connect. And innovation and entrepreneurship, I thought, should be the major drivers, because innovation is generating value for research. I think just doing research and publishing hundreds of papers, but not applying it to solve the real world problems, I felt is not going to make these institutions world class. So to me, it was very important that innovation needs to become a major driver, and we need to generate value for our own for our research. And also I felt that institutions need to become a demonstrator for conversion of knowledge to wealth. In this country, we have done very well, taking funds and converting that into knowledge, but converting that knowledge back to wealth is what I felt is totally missing in the larger context. So I thought, we should take a lead in establishing that. And I also felt, more out of class learning. The learning has all become very rote learning sort of a thing. And you mug up things and go and spit them out at the time of examination. I felt that that's not the way. A lot of out of learning opportunities we need to create for students, and that will again require a strong leadership. So I felt that is what we should do. Ethics, leadership skills. I think a major chunk of our curriculum now needs to be dedicated to the social sciences, ethics and leadership skills. Otherwise, a very narrowly focused engineer who doesn't even know anything outside, let's say if a civil engineer needs to build a bridge, just goes and builds a bridge, but doesn't understand the impact of that bridge on the local environment, on the people, on the society on a larger scale. I think, I thought that's not the kind of engineers we should be producing. And I also felt our faculty are very, stereotyped. If you want to become a faculty in IIT, you have to do this, and then you become a faculty member. I felt that should not be the way we recruit our faculty. I think I wanted a large chunk of faculty as joint and even professors of practice. At IIT Delhi, we introduced it. We said 10% of our faculty strength can be professors of practice, which is working very well now in many departments. And I also felt, industrial R&D is important. And instead of a transactional model of collaborating with industry, we need to have more collaborative model of doing so. And on each of these, I set out to lay a plan and then tasks in a time-bound fashion. Now, if you see IIT Delhi, after 6 years, with this as a vision that I started with, I think we have done very well. Even if you look at rankings, we have continuously been improving our rankings year after year. And even during the COVID time, while every institution was shutting down and sending students and faculty back to their homes and places, we said, no, we will not do that. We will allow our labs to be used for developing COVID-related technologies, and we encouraged our faculty. We internally funded them. Now, after almost like 18 months, the technologies that IIT Delhi developed because of that effort have helped already some 15 million people. I think directly or indirectly, people have utilized these technologies, and benefited from that. And while the country, everybody was charging RT-PCR kits 4,500 rupees, we launched a kit at 399 rupees. And that brought the prices down and made a huge difference everywhere. So some of these we could do. We started centers of excellence to bring people together. During my 6 years, we created almost like 20 centers of excellence with funding from multiple sources, so that people come together, connect with these external agencies and work on them. And also, if you look at our intellectual property, IIT Delhi was filing, 15, 30, 20 patents kind of a thing. We took it to, almost like 150 patents. And this year, IIT Delhi should be filing, over 200 patents. Even the patent royalty income also went up. And even our funding had also gone up. Our alumni contributions have gone up. And, I think we created a huge, kind of a change at IIT Delhi. And that has now, transformed the institute, which is what I would like to believe. And therefore, to me, when the leadership, when we talk about leadership, I think to me, it's an opportunity to make a change. I think you don't want to become a director just because it looks good on your CV. I think hardly, anybody cares. 5 years after that, nobody even remembers, anybody in this country. So I think what is important is it's an opportunity to make a change. And that has to be the motivation for occupying one of these positions, not that it's a power and then you want to wield that. I think the role of leadership cannot be undermined. Unfortunately, in this country, we are not understanding and recognizing the role of leaders, and as a result, without a good leader, I can tell you there can only be anarchy and underperformance. I think it's the role of the leader to set things right, to set goals, bring people together and achieve certain targets and goals. So therefore, I think the role of leader can never be undermined, and we must be very, very careful with the selection of leaders, and we must have schools to produce such leaders, which unfortunately are missing in this country. And leadership today is all about consensus building. I think I always believed in this dictum that none of us is better than all of us. I think, nobody can be better than all of us collectively. So therefore, taking everybody along, building consensus is becoming very, very important for all of us in a democracy. Any time when somebody sees you as an autocratic, somebody taking decisions without consenting others, it's very difficult to go too far. I think, it's important to recognize this. And the regular communication is also very important with your stakeholders. I think that is what sets a good leader, from all the tinkerers that we see around us. So I think set clear and concise goals, so that once you set those clear and concise goals, people rally behind you, and then you can make the transformation possible. I think I also felt that a reward system works better in motivating people. I have often seen, going after people, punishing them with this fine, that fine. I think that won't really work. But in Indian system, a reward system often works. And I always believed that put money where your mouth is. If you want people to do multidisciplinary research, you have to launch a program, you have to bring people together and incentivize them. And that is when many of these programs will succeed. And the top-down initiatives are very important. They are the key enablers. While bottom-up enablement is good, but top-down planning and execution are very critical. I think leaving everything, I will consult 100 people and let them tell me what I need to do, and I will do that. 100 people will never be able to think, which is more transformative. They will only ask for incremental things, and that's how we keep on doing these incremental things. I think a leader having a vision, and then implementing that vision while consulting everybody. Therefore, the bottom up and top down need to go hand in hand, for effective transformation of our organizations, which is also very critical. To me, happy leaders are assertive and flexible. I think these sometimes tend to be at opposite ends, but it's very, very important. At IIT Delhi, to give you an example, when we started at least 10 new academic units in my time as the director. And if I knew that we need to do that, but then any decision making in our IIT, it has become so complex that any decision making, like I said, has to go through at least a minimum of 100 people committee. Whether in every institution there are different processes, but I can tell you, to take a final decision, you have to be able to convince 100 professors, who think like you, who think, they also own the institute as much as the director of the institute. Now to convince them and to implement these initiatives, which could not be done for 30 years or 40 years, we were able to do that because I think, combining that assertiveness with the flexibility. You give away a few small things, but you still don't lose vision on what you want to do. I think that is where things become very different. Honest and empathic, which are also very important. I think, to me, individuals need to become a brand. When you think of Abdul Kalam is a brand by himself. When you think of Abdul Kalam, nobody on this planet would like to go and offer him some bribe, or accuse him of something. You don't do that, because he has cultivated that image that he is above all of that. And that in cultivating that image for a leader is very important. And that is when you keep all such elements out of at a distance, and then you will be able to perform well. Otherwise, once you are seen as succumbing to that pressures, being in a place like Delhi, for example, I can tell you, life can become miserable overnight. I think it's important for leaders to cultivate that image publicly, which is very, very important. And we need to be passionate and at the same time open-minded, which are also very important. The vision is, of course, there, I think, but vision is there with everybody. I think the drive for implementation is very important. That is where consensus building is becoming very, very important in our system. Accessibility is very important. When I, for example, joined IIT Delhi, I would have met almost every section of the IIT community here, and from students to teachers to staff to everybody, alumni and everyone. And then I made a task list of almost like 138 when I joined this institute. I knew that I need to do 138 things in a matter of a few years. And I think that is very important. The problem that happens is when you are accessible, too many people will give you too many inputs. Too many people will keep complaining about each other. And then I think as a leader, you need to realize that, there is never one single point of view for everything, for anything for that matter. So you need to always listen to multiple sides and then you take a decision. I think just blindly trusting somebody who comes and tells you about somebody else, I think is not going to, work in our system. Therefore, while you are accessible, but you also need to be objective in your assessment. I think, it's also very important that you achieve things, but you also need to publicize. If you look at it, I have the maximum following among all ex-or present directors in the country on social media. That's simply because I believe that what is happening in our institutions in the country, all the positive things need to be communicated. If you don't communicate, the only thing that you are only conveying is there is nothing happening, and then people fill it up all the blanks with all the negative kinds of things. Therefore, it's very important for us to be not only achieve great things, but also to publicize them, to connect with the larger stakeholders. So I think the leaders being accessible on social media or otherwise is very, very important in our system right now. So I think, also understanding the institutional strengths at IIT Delhi when I joined, one of the things I realized is every second or third student here is an Agarwal, a Bansal, a Mittal, a Gupta. These are all people who are coming from business communities. That is what IIT Delhi attracts as students. I realized that, with that sort of a student population, entrepreneurship can actually thrive. And we then started major initiatives at IIT Delhi to encourage entrepreneurship among students and among faculty. And I can see now those results showing up everywhere, and students going out and starting enterprises and building unicorns. At least 1/3 of unicorns that are there in the country today have all been built by IIT Delhi alumni. I think recognizing that those strengths of the organization that you are leading and maximizing on those strengths is something which is very important. And my last slide, I think in India particularly, if you want to succeed, you need, of course, a lot of passion. That is what everybody wants to see, but you need tons of patience. I think there is no immediate return on anything. I think we live in an era where the instant gratification is the norm. If I post something, I want to see immediately 1,000 likes. Life doesn't work like that. I think that patience is very important, and eventually the perseverance. If you want to give up, I can tell you every hour you will have enough reasons to give up on something. But I think that passion, patience, and perseverance, these three P's you need in them in abundance, to succeed in a country like India. And I think, these are at least my lessons of leading an institution like IIT Delhi and launching major programs or building major programs on nano electronics in the country. I hope, some of these will be useful for some of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful talk. And we all know that how you have transformed IIT Delhi in the last 6 years as being an alumni of IIT Delhi, I have seen a lot of changes since last, after you joined the IIT Delhi. Thank you very much for this wonderful talk, and then very strong message that what leaders should do and how they should do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now the floor is open for the questions. So I would like to ask the audience, if you have any question, you can ask any panelist. All three panelists are here so that we can start the discussion. Please raise your hand or directly you can ask.
Good morning, sir.
Yes.
May I go ahead?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, first of all, thank you to all the esteemed panelists. This is Ankush Shukla from Rekhi Centre itself. So I just wanted to ask you, like, in light of both Professor Partha Ghosh, saying that somewhere we need that self-sacrificial kind of leadership where leaders are more for the team rather than for themselves. And also Professor Ramgopal also mentioned about having a flexible curriculum. So do you both agree that somewhere we need to shelve the attitude of competitiveness in our school and college curriculum and rather adopt more a cooperative approach in terms of, like asking students to go for more cooperative projects and even, modifying our evaluation, system so that, it builds that kind of team spirit to nurture more happy and positive leaders among ourselves. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we can go with any one of you, maybe Professor Rao.
Yeah, maybe I will go first in that case. I think this competition thing, unfortunately, you can't take it away in a country like India. It's a supply and demand situation. And also, we are a young country, just 75 years now, which is what we are celebrating as a country. The first thing that, and also you see that it's a resource constrained kind of environment. Anything you want, if there is one, there are 10 people aspiring for that. In such a situation, you cannot keep competition out of anything. I think maybe another 1 or 2 more generations, once country prospers, like in the US and all of that, then your basic needs are taken care of. Everybody's basic needs are taken care of, and then you can aspire for bigger things, and all this competition, replaced by cooperation, collaboration, all those things will happen. But unfortunately, I think our generation will have to face this, and because we are hugely resource constrained, and that will happen. And I know, to me, you can't keep that aside. I think however much you will try, you have to compete. And but that competition can also be in the right spirit. I think it need not be that you go and do that at any cost kind of a thing. The means you adapt to achieve something are equally important. I think those value systems we need to inculcate among our younger generation. But otherwise, I don't know at this stage how you can remove competition. If you ask me, start, let's say 30 more IITs or 50 more IITs or 100 more IITs, let every district have an IIT, and let everybody who wants to study in these institutions, become eligible for that. But the issue is, where are the faculty? Even the existing IITs like Kharagpur, Bombay, Delhi, all of us have 40 to 50% vacancies in the faculty positions. In that situation, you cannot even scale up the education model, this higher education model all that easily. There are too many challenges. It's not as easy as what one would like to think when it comes to removing competition in the current context. It will happen. I think it's a matter of couple of more generations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Professor Ghosh, are you there? I think he's muted. Okay, if he joins that, then we'll ask him the same question. So, are there any other question from the audience?
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, Mohit. Yeah, please go ahead.
This is Mohit. I'm the research scholar from Rekhi Centre. So my question to Ajeet sir. So, like in India, India is a very diverse country in terms of belief, religion, and all the things, ethics. So how it is possible, or how the idea of implementation of happiness without hurting of their religious belief? So I'm just asking.
Dr. Trilok, this question was to me.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
this
Yes,
question
yes,
was
sir.
to you, sir. Yes.
Can you repeat the question, because his audio is
Sir, I'm asking, India is a very diverse country where the very
so
so
your
there's
voice is
many.
not coming. Trilok, just repeat
Yeah,
the
yeah.
question.
His voice is not audible actually. Mohit, can you check with your microphone?
Okay,
Or
okay,
can
sir.
you?
Okay,
Can,
I'm louding my voice.
yes.
Sir, India is a very diverse country. There's many religions and a very belief system. So how the happiness, the idea of happiness without hurting their religious sentiment and beliefs. So how to implement their that idea of happiness? Ajeet sir has spoken.
Hurting whose sentiments? Other sentiments, or the person's own religious sentiment?
Person's religious sentiment.
The person's own religious sentiments come in the way of happiness?
Yes, yes, sir. Because there's a many belief systems. There is a Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, and so they have on their religious belief system of happiness and other things.
No, yeah. I will see. Now I told you the core technology is same. No religious beliefs can come in the way of your own happiness. It is only the wrong interpretation and probably a misguided or some vested interests which are propagating those religious beliefs. I'll tell you how it works. I told you, when we come there, we come with a factory fitted SIM card in this handset, which is human body. Now, there are various service providers for the same thing. Now, how I got this inspiration was in southern South India, during this September, October, when children are going to US, a lot of children go away to US. So 20 years back or so, I was at some airport, I think it was Bangalore or Chennai, and I found one, I think it was in Andhra. So the parents were very helpless, insecure. Their son was going abroad. So father was tell him he should call back when he reaches there. He should immediately call. No, he will not call. Otherwise, he'll say, I did not get the booth. And father could not talk directly to the son because he was scared. Now the son is getting freedom. And he will not, and son was very happy that now I'll be independent. Father will not be controlling me so much. So mother was trying to go and call him and find a booth and don't delay. We will be very worried and all that. Then suddenly a few years later, I found there is a small kiosk of Matrix SIM. Matrix is a preloaded SIM, and so now parents can give a preloaded SIM to the child and he has no excuse. When he lands in the university, he calls. When he goes to the hostel, he calls. So that parents are not worried. So I thought, when the mortal parents are so worried about their children going to US, think of the Parampita, the ultimate father, when he was sending us to planet Earth. So he also took care of that, and he has put a SIM card in all of us, which comes here factory fitted, and this is a handset. Somebody's handset, it is good looking, somebody is not so good looking, somebody doesn't break, very strong like Nokia, but nevertheless a factory fitted SIM card in this handset. Now all these service providers, what you're talking of religious beliefs, they have their own operating instruction, they have their own user's manual, and if you are their subscriber, they tell you, you follow our instructions, and within 24 hours, or like BSNL, a few months, we will activate your SIM. And the moment they are actually, if you follow their instructions, they are all capable and competent to activate your SIM. The moment your SIM card is activated, the incoming is lifetime free. The divinity keeps sending you all guidance, all signals, and not only the incoming is lifetime free, they also keep sending you SMS alerts. Now you are roaming, you will be charged this, you will this. But what happens, most of these SMS alerts, you delete without even reading them. And for the free incoming call during your youth, most of the time when the ultimate father calls you, most of the time you are out of coverage area, you are out of reach. During your middle age, you are so occupied with your business and your family and other things. When he is calling you, your number is always busy. And in the old age, your battery conks off and this number does not exist. So despite that in lifetime incoming facility having been given to you, you never allow this guidance to reach you. Now, if you feel that any belief is coming in the way of your being happy, see, happiness is a automatic consequence of a avastha that you are living at, the operating system that you are living in. Now, the core, like thumb rules are that inner integrity is the secret. There should be no discrepancy between your thought, words, and deed. You can cheat the whole world, you can cheat everybody, but you can't cheat yourself. And the moment there is a slightest misalignment here, you can never be at peace. Now, no religious beliefs. Now, if you are talking about, a lot of youngsters ask me, sir, is drinking bad? You know, because the religion says that it is bad. Is going out with a friend of opposite sex bad? Right? Now, whatever is made on this planet Earth is made at the level of matter. It is everything has a purpose here. It is not what you do, it is what is the motive, what is the intention behind that. How you do a particular thing will decide whether it happened, it was right or wrong, and only for your case. The same thing may be right for somebody else. So if you have any confusion about any religious beliefs, any service provider, because I believe now the time, the era of religions is over, the age of realization has come. There'll be DTH, direct to heart connection, because the SIM will be activated like this. Religions have outlived their utility. So any belief which you feel, and now there is actually a very good case to have double SIM now. Pick up whatever you want to pick up from the other service provider. My conclusion is, when we go back, there is a presentation like final Viva in IITs. The 5 questions are answered. Number 1, Zindagi kaise guzari? Because as you know, only the soft copy goes, and soft copy is put in the system, and then say, oh, first question, Zindagi kaise guzari? How did you spend your life? Number 2, Jawani kaise guzari? How did you spend your youth? So, and these are all 5 compulsory questions. इसमें कहीं scope नहीं है. All of us, this one examination is 100% certain for all of us, and all 5 questions are compulsory. Number 1, जिंदगी कैसे गुजारी? Number 2, जवानी कैसे गुजारी? Number 3, दौलत कैसे कमाई? How did you earn your wealth? And number 4, उस दौलत का क्या इस्तेमाल किया? Or to what use did you put that wealth to? तो जिंदगी कैसे गुजारी? जवानी कैसे गुजारी? दौलत कैसे कमाई? उस दौलत का क्या इस्तेमाल किया? And last, that unique talent which was given to you, what use did you make of that for the larger interest of creation? That is where one has to understand that each soul is unique. If you read whatever scriptures of any service provider, everybody says the same thing. Everybody in different words, different. Now, interpretation can be different. A vested fellow, a vested interest will give you some different temperature. So he says the unique, जो यूनिक हुनर तुम्हें दिया था, उसका कायनात के लिए क्या इस्तेमाल किया? What is your contribution when you were there with that unique ability, unique set of circumstances which were given to you? That is where youngsters have to understand that you cannot waste your life in competing with others. Your only competition is with yourself. So right from the beginning, you should start, and any beliefs which you feel are hindering in the process of your happiness, please get my number, get connected to me. There is no question which cannot be answered. And I have lived exactly the life you are living. Come from an urban background, English educated background, and lived as a bachelor in Bombay, Kulaba. So there is no question which I cannot answer, which cannot. So if your belief is coming in the way of your happiness, please connect. And there's nothing, don't compete. Just compete with yourself, improve yourself, and inner integrity is the secret, nothing else. Be honest to yourself, honest to God. That's all.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ajeet sir, for this elaborate answer. So, are there any other questions from the audience?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
so
please go ahead. Please switch on your camera so that it should look like one-to-one interaction.
So my video is on. Am I not visible?
Yes, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, now it is. You're visible. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you to our esteemed panelists for such an insightful discussion. So my question is to Ajeet sir only. So in your presentation, there was strong aspect of connecting to the higher self. So my question is, there is constant engaging with the action world in our daily lives. So how will we put these things together? You know, what is the best way to put these things together? Because there is a lot of distraction. There are deadlines in our academics. There are several other dips that come in our lives. How to cultivate that in our lifestyle? To always be connected to a higher self and also delivering the best in the action world.
Very good. When the mother is working in the kitchen and baby is in the drawing room, does the mother have to make any conscious effort to see what is happening to the baby? The milk is boiling in the kitchen, but suddenly the baby, something baby wants and the mother rushes there. This is a permanent connection between mother and child, and motherhood is the closest to godhood. Now, how to maintain that connection? That is the thing. You see, now this lifestyle, that mad rush, compete. And why this mad rush? Because we are insecure. We have been made insecure. Every day you get 10 phone calls ki kya policy bazaar se le lijiye, mar jayenge, ye ho jayega, medical. Okay, our purchasing power has been increased so much because of so-called advancements of society that we go out of the way to purchase misery. Somebody will come and say, "Ab ye to le lijiye aap. ये तो इसके बिना तो ये हो जाएगा, आप मर जाएंगे तो आपके बच्चे का क्या होगा?" फिर वो उस तरह के ऐड आपको दिखाएगा. Now what is to be done? So पहला क्वेश्चन है, what am I? है ना? You should realize कि अरे पलक, I am not a body. There is a software inside, and that software has been given a body to complete a particular, I call it pilgrimage through planet Earth. So once you know that you are not the body, you are a soul. You develop a detached attitude, okay? And then you do not confuse the body with the soul. And when you understand you are not a body, because body too you can see every day in the mirror, what happens? When you look at yourself in the mirror before going to the class every day, you look at mirror, you do this, you do this, you this, and you say perfect, right? What have you done? You have not made any corrections in the mirror, you have made corrections to yourself, okay? Now, once you understand these are two different things, the image is different, you are different. You are always in that awareness. Impersonal means not filtered, not colored through your own filters. Impersonal, alert, attentive awareness. जो कुछ भी तुम्हारे चारों तरफ हो रहा है, problem is we are not living, we are sleepwalking. The moment you start living in awareness of what is happening, मैं जिन दिनों तेरे बारे में सोचता हूँ बहुत, मैं जिन दिनों तेरे बारे में सोचता हूं बहुत, उन्हीं दिनों तो ये दुनिया समझ में आती है. We don't spend time, we don't even, we are just running because everybody is running. I am also running. Okay, step back. If you have to observe traffic on the road, you cannot stand in the middle of the traffic and then observe. Step aside, and if possible, stand on a little higher place and then watch the traffic. Behind this, we call a third eye, about 3/4 inch, there is a point, I call it clutch point. Okay, you can disconnect from here. When you drive, you use your clutch plate. Okay, so if you continuously keep your foot on the clutch plate, wo gear plate घिस जाती है. Wear and tear very high. So what you do, only when you have to change the gear, you press the clutch plate. So when you have to deal with the material world, then only engage here and उस समय do what is required. Don't react. You see, this is happening. Now, what am I supposed to do? Not how I will react. Reaction is this. Action is this. Okay. So, most important is start living in awareness and be very clear. You are not the only one who has been born. Many, see, in civil service, a very good thing is there. Very good system. When we go and occupy a big office, there is a, they call board of honor, roll of honor. So, they will say 1895. Such and such Robert Scott sat on this chair. Then somebody came, and then you say 5 years back, some Mr. Agrawal sat on this, and you also sit. So they say from this date. People take great pride in that. And behind in every office, if a chief secretary's office you go, it is there. The cabinet secretary, it is there to remind. I say, no, this is not to remind that you are such a great man. It is only to remind you that tumse pehle itne aaye, itne gaye. You should understand, don't give too much importance to yourself. You should see, yes, I am here to do a job. I am qualified. I am equipped. If not, I will add to my knowledge. I will consult people. A very nice thing he said. I think Dr. Ramgopal said. He said, no one is better than all of us put together. Nobody should have this galathemi that he is a gift of God. Unfortunately, we IITs suffer from this mentality. We feel we are a gift of God to the country. We are a gift of God to the society. It is ridiculous. You are only blessed that you were born in a family that you could make it to IITs. And becoming an engineer is not like, I say meditation is a tool. It is just a practice. It is not the destination. Why I am telling this is like, you must have heard people say, "Mera beta IIT की coaching कर रहा है, कोटा classes में, वो Bansal classes में." You say, very nice. अच्छा, ये से 2 साल से कर रहा है, 3 साल से कर रहा है. हाँ, very good. Bright बच्चा है, उसको करने तो हो जाएगा. अब अगर तुमसे कोई कहे, मेरा बच्चा 30 साल से बंसल की classes कर रहा है, JEE की तैयारी कर रहा है, it is ridiculous, ना? It is wasting his life just to put him into IIT. He is not meant for IIT. Everybody is not supposed to go to IIT. Otherwise, the world will become, IIT campus में कैसी life होती है. अगर पूरी दुनिया को IIT बना दिया तो how boring life IIT will become. So just be yourself, be natural. और जब धीरे धीरे फिर तुम्हारा अपने inner divine से connection हो जाएगा. अभी मैं SIM connectivity की बात कर रहा था. The moment your SIM is activated, your GPS also gets activated. And once your GPS activated, you get direction. And even if you take a wrong step, you say rerouting. This is how precise that connection with divinity, with your inner divine is. भगवान के सच्चे भक्तों को पग पग पे सहारा मिलता है. इस ओर चलो, उस ओर चलो, ये आप इशारा मिलता है. That precise is the GPS. You have to only connect. And how you will connect? When you know that, yes, I have one work pending, connecting. The constant remembrance of God is the secret. Like a mother is constantly remembering, connected to the child. Develop that faith, develop that. I will wind up with this. It's important, relevant. That is why I'm saying. I say prayer is a missed call to God. Look at that. I said, how is that? Only your missed calls are answered. Hamari to kabhi nahi answer karta. I said, uske liye there are two basic conditions. The first basic condition is that only incoming is lifetime free. Right? To make an outgoing call, you have to have what is called talk time. And talk time is not free. Talk time you have to earn, you have to recharge your thing for talk time. Secondly, whether your missed call will be answered or not will depend whether you have that talk time or not. Secondly, suppose I am the chief secretary of a state, I am holding a big meeting. And some call comes, I look at my phone and I put it down, put it on silent. Again the call comes, I put it on silent again. Again the call comes and I switch it off. Okay. And after some time I switch it on, I say there is a missed call from my little girl whom I have put in a boarding school. What do? I look at it and I said, excuse me, my daughter is calling. I have just left her in boarding school. And they say, no problem, sir. No problem, sir. A big arrogant meeting of arrogant bureaucrat. They say, no problem, sir. And you said, call, you say, what happened, beta? Papa is in a meeting. Anything urgent? Say, no, Papa. I said, okay, I'll call you back. He said, sorry, my daughter called. And they say, no problem, sir. Right? So whether your missed call will be answered or not will depend on the type of relationship you have developed with God. The first call which I came and which you switched off was from a third race, selfish, greedy, ungrateful friend who remembers you only when he needs you. Okay. The second came from your child. So if your relationship with God is that of a father and child, he will stop the business of entire cosmos and call you back. This is, and I'm not talking from books. I have lived a life, and I have lived a life in that curious, there are some philosophy. You must have seen students who have that look on their face, always looking for something, as if they have lost something. Develop that look, that seeking in you. There are only two ways, either seeking or suffering. If you do not understand, suffering will come to make you understand. So it is better to have the seeking right from now. And this is the right time. You should have everything right from early 15, 16 years of age. There's no point wasting your life. And after 55, you realize the futility of it all. And you say, my God, I have wasted my life. It is too late. Satsang after 40, 45 is of no use. If you listen to people after 40, they are only discussion is, आपकी sugar कितनी है, आपका cholesterol कितना है. And उनसे पूछो ध्यान लग रहा है, इसे हाँ कहाँ लग रहा है, घुटनों में लग रहा है, because joints start aching. So you have to start early in life. Okay? Do it. Just make a beginning. It happens. It happens. And any confusion, just get in touch with me. There is no question which cannot be answered by experience. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So
Sir,
are there
good
any
morning,
other question?
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, we are talking about happiness, but actually what I feel is Sthita Pragnata is more important than being happy or sad according to the situations. So, any inputs on this?
Okay, Dr. Shubha Rao. Okay. To whom you want to answer? I mean, whom you ask this? Ajit sir or Professor?
Ajit
Okay.
sir.
Yes, sir. For you, another
What was
question.
the question? Trilok, what was the question?
Can you repeat, Dr. Rao?
Yes, sir. We are talking about happiness, but Sthita Pragnata is more important than being happy or sad according to the situations. That's what I feel. And
what is more important?
Sthita Pragnata means being stable.
No, not okay. You call it being stable. I call it being in alignment. You know, the happiness is inside you. You have to trigger. See, the entire system, the technology is like this. The source is within. You need a trigger. Olden days we had kick-start scooters. You have to actually kick, and then it will start. Now you have the self-start. So same way, the happiness is within you. You have to decide a trigger. It can be, you can give it in the hands of external world. They will trigger it. You will feel happy. Okay, they have gifted you a new MacBook or a new Mercedes. You are happy. But after 3 days, this happiness will go away because it is matter related. But if you have actually done the setting, installed drivers within you, happiness is within your own hands. You can trigger it and you can always keep it on. Like my dongle is on now. It is already connected unless I take disconnected. And what I was telling Palak is if you disconnect from here, your happiness, state of happiness will continue. So alignment is important. Alignment is a statement. And by alignment, you are calling it stability. Start practicing it. And you will see that when you are unhappy, you list down, why am I unhappy? And you will find that most of the reasons were not there 5 minutes before, and after 10 minutes they will not remain there. Then you say, okay, why did I allow myself to become unhappy? But this will happen only when you have lived the basic discipline. I was talking about yam and niyam. Okay, so this is an entire protocol and process which I can explain to you because I have practiced it. And in that I will also answer all those questions of youngsters. Is smoking against a religion, against its spirituality? Does God angry? God get angry. I was once invited to RK mission in Rajkot, and before the thing started, Rajkot, a lot of young crowd had come, and you know, in Ahmedabad, a lot of fashionable people, jeans and short tops. So Swamiji got up and he says, "You jeans-clad girls, India doesn't need you. You go." I said, "Oh, Swami, you don't do this. God has nothing against short tops and jeans." Okay, this is how you look at. This is how ignorant you are about things. Look at yourself. Be in your inner integrity is the secret. If you're not at peace with yourself, you will be unhappy. So devise the trigger. Whether you hand over that trigger to outside people or you keep it with yourself, you will find that happiness is only your state of mind. If you analyze the reasons why you are unhappy, you will be able to handle that. We can connect on that and we can talk, and with practical examples, we can see. It is all in your hands. Don't allow the external things to disturb you. Or we should not always look for a kickstart in life. Self-start is always better. Thank you.